Oh, and I'm frozen. Am I frozen? Uh-huh. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Okay, guys, as usual, I am trying to go live over on Instagram. Okay. I think we're I think we're live in all the places. Only problem is, Amy, am I freezing?
You are freezing.
Okay. All right, guys. So bear with me. I'm going to go on Ethernet. I hope it doesn't fall apart. Guys, bear with me. Or I don't know if it'll. Okay, hang on. Hang on. I'll be right back. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. All right. I'm on Ethernet. I guess nothing bad happened. Yay.
Yeah, you're
What a
still
way to
here.
start. What a way to start, right? Never a
Yeah.
dull moment. All right, guys. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. Happy Thursday. Here we are, Thursday, right before Memorial Day. Hope you guys have some fun plans in store for the weekend. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So, today we're going to be diving into a topic. I think it is so important. I talk about it all the time, but I'm so delighted to be having a conversation about this topic with someone who did it and succeeded. What is that, you may wonder? Well, we're going to chat about something that I think can really change the trajectory of your practice and honestly make your business feel a whole lot more aligned and also fulfilling for you. So, I am delighted to be joined by functional dietitian Amy McCrae. And Amy is from Grounded Root Nutrition. She's going to talk a little bit more about her backstory here in just a moment. But we are going to talk about what really happens when your niche, your messaging, and your brand all are in alignment and start telling the same story. So if you've ever felt like your practice is attracting the wrong kinds of clients, maybe your messaging feels too broad, which I'm going to guess is most often the case, or it just doesn't, your brand just doesn't reflect who you are or how you help people, you are going to get a ton of value from this conversation. It truly is one of my favorite topics. So, welcome, Amy. I am so excited to have you. The last time I saw you was in New York City.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Leslie.
My pleasure. It's so good to have you. And I don't know, is this my camera freezing up? I don't know what's happening here. I
We'll roll with it.
telling Amy that you never a dull moment. So my really second really good camera, like really good camera, second time it's happened, the motor burnt out. So not too thrilled about that. So I've got a little which isn't half bad, but not quite the same experience. But nonetheless, we're gonna roll with it. All right. So Amy, I love chatting with you in New York City. So we chatted quite a bit at IHS, which was such a treat for me. Uh, Before we dive into our conversation today, can you share a little bit about what you're up to, what you're doing?
Yeah.
Just a little bit about your journey.
Absolutely. I'd be delighted to. GI is the space that I specialize in. And kind of along that journey, I added nutrigenomics into my practice. So I've done quite a few trainings and I integrate that pretty heavily into what I do. I am an integrative and functional nutrition certified practitioner. So, really blending that Eastern and Western as much as I can and really trying to meet the patient also where they're at, right? That's so important. I think you hear that messaging in everything that we do. I've become a LEAP certified practitioner, and then I'm also a certified gastrointestinal nutritionist. So I really enjoy having all those letters. I love training and learning. It's never a dull moment for me. So that might keep growing over time. I don't know, but here I am.
You got a lot out of initial. Oh, that's right. You have an MBA too. We're
I
kind of a
do.
rare breed,
Yes.
aren't we? Yeah, not many people have that combination. So, and plus you have the IFNA credential.
Yeah, I do.
So, congrats on that. And I
Thank you.
believe, do you teach a module in that program?
I will be. So that module will
Okay.
release in 2027, but I am
Okay.
also a mentor for IFNA and also one of their peer reviewers. So I'm very involved in that organization as well.
Okay. I love them. All right. Um, okay. So, how tell us a little bit about your journey from going, being a general practitioner, general dietitian to specializing in complex gut health and ultimately founding Grounded Root Nutrition. So tell us a little bit about that
Yeah.
process for you.
So, I mean, I think it's kind of common for us as dietitians to hear, especially in school, right? You have to be in clinical for a few years before you even consider opening your own practice. That was not my journey, not what I wanted to do. I knew right away I wanted to be my own boss. And I knew I loved GI, but we didn't have a lot of training. There's not a robust set of training when we
Mhm,
came out of school. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to do GI, but I want to see kind of everybody, make sure that's where I want to specialize. And I also feel like I need more training before I can really define myself and help this patient population. And then I kind of by default ended up, that was the recurring theme, right? GI, GI, GI with all of my patients. And
mhm,
so when I finally figured that out, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a leap of faith and really niche in and specialize in to what I wanted to do. And it's been super, super fulfilling. It's also really personal for me because my husband and my
mhm.
daughter both have celiac, and I also
Oh,
have an autoimmune condition. So the GI has been kind of first and forefront for a lot of years. So yeah.
tell me a little bit about what was happening before you decided to niche down. What was that looking like for you?
I partnered with another company too, just to get more exposure, more patients. And there, kind of what I found is I could help anybody, right? I mean, we have that general knowledge, but I wasn't passionate about it. I had a little more trouble connecting and staying connected with those patients that really weren't in my specialty area.
Mhm.
And I didn't like the way that felt, right? Like, I really like that deep connection, that deep level of trust with patients. And not that they didn't have that with me, but it was harder for me. It was harder for me to show up and be excited every single day for what I was doing.
Got it. Okay. So you took that leap of faith,
I
right?
did.
And so often my clients struggle with that because it's scary, right?
Mhm.
It really
It
is.
was
So, yeah,
really
can you
scary.
tell me a little bit about, you know, how did you get yourself to do that? Like,
Right.
'cause,
So
I think we typically think that if we cast a smaller net, so to
Mhm.
speak, right, go from helping everyone to helping this specific patient type, that it's just a smaller pool and we're gonna get less.
Oh,
So
definitely.
yeah,
I
so
was
tell me how
terrified.
you overcame that and, what made you do it?
Well, I kept hearing you say, and others, practitioners say, niche in, niche in, niche in. I was
Yeah.
like talking to my husband, I said, all right, this is what they say. So I'm just going to try it because I already know this is what I want to do. I know these are the people that I'm the most passionate about, the population I like. And so we began on that journey. And it was really scary. It was really scary to take my brand and insert GI into it and really call out. But what I have to kind of come back to sometimes is it doesn't mean that I can't help people outside of GI.
Mhm.
It just calls the right people to you. So they see your brand, they see your logo, they see your messaging, and they already know what you really like to do and what you help. So if somebody comes to me for something else, which does still occasionally happen, I have that conversation. Hey, everything starts in your gut, right? Your gut's your second brain in many, many ways. It controls a lot of inflammation, and we're going to integrate that, and they're okay with it. I've kind of already announced they expect that, which is really nice. But yeah, the fear is out there. You just kind of have to trust the coaches, as you would say, right?
Yeah.
It's the best thing that you could possibly do. And I feel, if anything else, it allowed me to get more intentional with every single decision that I've made.
Mhm.
And that's made me more successful, which was great.
I love that. So, any advice to, our practitioners that are watching today in terms of, in terms of reframing that, the fear that may hold them back.
Yeah, I think you just kind of also need to ask yourself, reflect in, right? So, what do you stand for? What do you find yourself gravitating towards? At the end of the day, we need to be passionate about our jobs. We need to enjoy it.
Mhm.
I once had a boss many careers ago tell me, "What are your priorities in life, Amy?" He asked me that question. And, family is huge for me. And I kind of listed my priorities in the order that they were. And he said to me, "You need to live them like that." And that has stayed with me for,
Yeah,
gosh,
can
it's
you
been
repeat
over
that?
20
You need to
years.
what? Say that
You need
again.
to, yeah, so take your priorities, the list
Yeah.
that they in the order that they're in, and you need to live them in that order, right? So family was one of the number one for me. And so that also has allowed me to kind of figure out, how do I fit my business around everything and build a business that's truly true to myself. And I
Mhm.
think it requires a lot of reflection and time, and also pattern recognition, like listening to your conversations, reflecting back on your conversations with patients. What do you keep coming back to every single time? And that really tells you where you're passionate, where you do your best work, what you're really engaged and interested in, and build your brand around that, right?
I love that. And by the way, I love that logo.
Thank you.
So that is really, really, really good.
Thank
Very,
you.
memorable. It's very creative as well. So you must have been thrilled when I
Yes.
don't know who designed it, but they did a great job.
Thank you. I was very happy when my designer put it all together for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Getting a good
Um,
logo that represents your brand
mhm.
it is not easy.
It is not easy.
I
And
think I could maybe write a book on that, like, master.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of on that subject. This is not the business name I started with.
Okay,
So,
tell us about that.
and yeah, right. So I went to Eastern Michigan University, and through that, they have an entrepreneur course that you take, and you have to kind of build a business plan, which,
Mhm.
having an MBA already, it was no problem for me, and kind of had to create a name. And so I came up with One Fork at a Time. Cute, catchy. I was like, oh, there's so many different hidden meetings. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm the only one that picks up on those hidden meetings.
Ah!
Nobody else does. And so they'd be like, so are you a bakery? Are you a restaurant? And I was like, this is not working for me. So I kind of, in this process of figuring out what did I want to do and how did I want to niche in, I also chose to rebrand, choose a new name, and choose a new logo. And I
Okay,
really had to make sure that that brand name reflected what I do. And so day in and day out in my practice, I talk to patients about grounding themselves, really activating that parasympathetic nervous system. I think everybody on this call is probably has heard that by now. It's so integral.
oops.
And so um, that really led me to the grounded route, because I really being grounded is a key part of what I do with
Ah,
my patients. So
okay.
yeah, that was the
It's a
journey
great
that led me
name.
to this logo. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and I love the logo. So, yeah, so we talked a little bit about the fear, right? And one thing that I want to highlight, something that you said that I think is really important, is it's true. It doesn't mean you can't help people outside of the niche, right?
Mhm.
So you still get to pick who you help,
Yeah.
right? We're just trying to position you as, I'm sure you've heard this saying before, like a big fish in a smaller pond, right?
Yes,
Instead
definitely.
of a little teeny fish in a huge ocean, right?
Yeah.
Where it's
Yep.
very hard for people to find you and differentiate your work from others. In addition, I would just say in healthcare, for the most part, people want to work with a specialist more
Mhm.
than they okay, I don't wanna say always, right? Like, I don't wanna pigeonhole, like, the whole world, but generally speaking, in healthcare, people do tend to seek out specialists. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, definitely. They want somebody that is well versed, that's educated, and that also stays up with the current research, right?
Mhm.
That is huge for sure. And even somebody that comes to me with a GI problem, that's typically not the only thing that they have going on, right? So they might also have high cholesterol. They might be a patient that is coming that also wants some weight loss. There's a lot of work to be done before we get there. But all of your skills are going to come into handy. You're not going to
Mhm.
unneed any of them.
Yeah.
That need will always be there. But the people that come to me now, I would say 9 times out of 10, they come to me for a GI issue. And that was
Mhm.
one of the huge shifts I saw when I niched in. Before it was everybody and everything that came to me. And I didn't do everything. I didn't want to do everything, even though I
Mhm.
can do everything, right? So really being real intentional brought intentional people to me.
Yeah. It's hard to be an expert in everything
Mhm.
and to have, like, repeatable processes in your business
Yep.
when you're working with everybody. Let me ask you this, though. Here's, an objection that I hear quite frequently, and that is, "I'm scared I'm gonna be bored." I hear that one all the time. So, do you have any thoughts on, are you bored? I
I
know
am
it's a
so not
rhetorical question.
bored, right?
Yeah, it's rhetorical, but, did that cross your mind ever?
So, no, first, it never did for me.
Okay.
And I think because it's always just been an area that I've been so interested in for a long time that I never really had that. Am I going to be bored? But I think you also have to think about it in terms of, well, what type of medicine are we practicing? And am I practicing
Mhm.
personalized medicine? And that is what I do in the
Right.
functional space, especially. And so I don't have one protocol that I put on repeat. I don't have 5 protocols that I put on repeat. Every patient is different. And I look at every patient as a puzzle,
Mhm.
because there are no two people that are alike, right? And so, how can we really personalize it, find their plan, meet them where they're at? If you look at every patient as a challenge and their own puzzle, you don't get bored at all.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's been my observation that, and it's I would just say especially well, number 1, you alluded to or you said it, is, people are complicated, you know?
Yeah,
Most of the time, they've got a lot going on, not just one thing,
right.
generally, right? Maybe they prioritize the gut in terms of their
Mhm.
health, but a lot of times there's several things you're working on, which is not gonna be boring, like, ever.
No. Mhm.
They wanna, lose weight or they want to reduce their whatever the case may be. Um, and and the other thing I would just add to that is especially being a functional integrative functional dietitian, you're really approaching it from, like, a whole body approach anyway,
Yeah.
right? So the niche is just how you're attracting patients and clients into your world. It doesn't really mean, "Oh, that's the only thing I'm doing in the actual
Correct.
work," right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting how that works.
Yeah, very much so. And it's a whole body approach, as you mentioned, that we're coming after. If a
Mhm.
patient comes to me with SIBO and recurrent SIBO, well, I always
Yeah.
say, well, what's the root? Like, why is it starting and why does it keep coming
Mhm.
back? That's where we need to dive deeper. And I also, there's so much information in the world, there's so much research, and patients will ask me questions, or in my brain, I'm always asking why. And so I always have these all this whole running list of things for me to research and learn about, and then grow even more as a practitioner and improve the patient experience even more. So just kind of approaching it, I think always too, is just being an open book
Mhm.
will also keep you from getting bored.
I love that. So, once someone, nails or narrows down and decides on a particular niche, how should what does that look like? How do they show up within that particular brand, you
Yeah.
know? So what yeah, if you can give a little bit of overview on what,
I
your
think
thoughts.
definitely. It's a little bit of reflection, right? And so you kind of have to look at, well, where did your business start? What
Uh-huh.
does it look like today? And where do you want it to go? And then you need to see, does your brand tell that story? So if we think about my old logo, one fork at a time, I mean, one, people had no idea what it did because it didn't say nutrition, it didn't say GI. Total miss on my part, naive. I had a lot to learn. But that aside, it doesn't hit on my recurring message, which is being grounded. And so, really bringing that into my brand, I think it also helps people coming to me know what to expect. I'm not, the rock star root GI nutrition. So they're not like, we're not having a party over here all the time,
Uh-huh.
but they kind of know a little bit about what they're getting. And so making sure that you're really aligned and that your messaging from your business, your website, your social media accounts, that it all aligns as well. That's, I think, a key component of it. It was hard when I made that shift and making sure that all the places had the same messaging. And
Mhm.
I've refined that messaging. I update that messaging every year, right? To make sure that it's true to how I'm practicing today because you're going to evolve over time. So let yourself evolve and just pick a brand that's truly representative,
I
of
think I'm frozen.
you are. There we
Oh,
go. You
sorry, guys. I don't know why I'm freezing. Anyway, I was listening, but I saw that I was completely frozen. Yeah, so you pick a lane and yeah, and you just go with it. And knowing what would you say though are the places that practitioners maybe go astray or I hate to say get it wrong, but
I think
maybe
there
that's
you
it.
yeah, you kind of can overcomplicate things, right? And kind of that tagline being a little too wordy. What did I see once? Have your business name be 10 letters or less, which, well, I failed in that regard. I don't, 10 letters or less, too hard for me. But still, the idea is simple and memorable.
Okay.
And so finding something that people can remember that name for and that's going to resonate and click in their brain, I think is really, really important. And if you have spin-offs, so maybe you've got a couple other niche names or people say, did you say, right? When you say your logo, because they don't quite understand you, then get that website and direct it to yours. So I have Grounded Root Nutrition and I have Grounded Root GI Nutrition.com. I
Oh,
have both of those websites. It doesn't matter how they come to me, they're going to land in the same exact spot. And I still own oneforkatatime.com and it rolls right over to Grounded Root because no one's
okay.
getting rid of those business cards that I had the first year, but it's just going to keep coming over. So
Okay.
I think giving yourself grace, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's moldable. So pick something that can kind of grow with you, I think is also a nice thing to do.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I kind of to that end, I mean, I use my name, which believe me, pros and cons to that, just saying. But the way my name is spelled is different. Lesli, no E. And so I also have the domain LESLIE, just in case, right?
Yeah.
Just in case, because I mean, it's just such a common thing for people to assume that's the correct spelling. So yeah, so that makes a ton of sense. So what is the story behind your business name? Grounded Root Nutrition. You know, it like these brands do tell a story. So yeah, can you walk us through a little bit about how you landed on that name and just the
Yeah.
story behind it?
Yeah. So I kept seeing names for other businesses totally unrelated to mine that kept having root in them. And I was just gravitated and drawn towards them.
Mhm.
And so I was like, interesting. And my one fork at a time logo, it was a tree, it was cool, and it had some roots. And I just kept feeling like I was gravitated towards that. So as you're kind of thinking about your own brand and your name, like ask yourself, like, what do you keep coming back to? those are the patterns you need to identify and figure out and write them down, right? Keep those. But the grounding really speaks to, part of it is my own personal journey and just realizing how important it is for me to take time out of my day for myself, make sure that, I'm fed and nourished first because I can't help others if I'm not fed. That goes for all of us, and everybody should, have that lesson. And I wish we kind of practice that a little easier sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I also encourage patients to do that and be really like bring themselves down, do your deep breathing, like ground yourself. And so that's really what led me to this kind of putting it together. And I remember the person that designed this logo and getting with her, and I was giving her all the whys. And this logo is actually the first one that came out of the gate. And I loved it. She gave me like five of them, but this was the very first one.
Uh-huh.
And so when you really, the other part of this equation too, I think, is figuring out your why. Why did you pick each name and each component? Because if you have somebody helping you with the logo, they're going to listen and they're going to build you something that really fits all those things, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for some of our listeners right now, if they're kind of sitting here thinking that, gosh, my brand, some of these things we're talking about just is feeling a little generic, so to speak. What's a good starting point? In other words, what's the first thing ideally they're going to look at?
Oh my gosh. This is a tough one, right? Everybody's a little bit different. I guess website messaging is kind of where I want to look at, and what is
Okay.
generic and what is specific. Because most people
Mhm.
are going to find you through your website and they're going to go to your website and visit it. So, what I would encourage them to look at is, does their messaging, if you were to have a discovery call with somebody, it's like your website should be kind of your pre-discovery call, I like to say.
Yeah.
Setting up the stage so that when somebody gets to that discovery call, they're already at a yes. I don't remember the last time I haven't signed somebody in a discovery call, which is great. Um,
Amazing.
yeah,
How did you
but
do
like,
that? I wanna hear,
how
but
do I?
I don't want you to lose your train of thought on this.
Yeah, and so I changed that messaging
Okay.
to get really specific. And the other component too is to listen to the words your patients use, because you have to reflect those back. They don't think in dietitian language. They really don't. And so your language has to match what they're thinking and mirror what they're thinking. And so you can take something really generic and kind of like niche down. And good news is, if it's not working, if people don't understand it, you can change it. It's not permanent, right?
Right.
None of those website things are. But I think it's one of the easiest places to start if you don't want to go through rebranding your whole business. Maybe it's an extra tagline or something at the top of your website that kind of niche, kind of hooks people in, and then change your messaging to go along with it.
I love that. Highly recommend looking at messaging. And I love what you said, Amy, about, um, you know, normal people. Normal people do not think like us as dietitians or and coaches, right? It like, so we really need to be speaking their language.
Mhm.
Um, and I would just add, like, I love talking about messaging. It's really one of my favorite things, one of my many. Um, and I would just remind everyone that when it comes to creating a good message, it's not so much all the things you do to help people. It's not so much about that. Like, we do this lab and that lab, and, I mean, maybe like high level is a high level description somewhere in your copy is helpful. But that being said, the core pieces of your message really are who it is you help. I want to know that I'm in the right place. Can you help me? Do you specialize in helping someone like me? What are what do you get me, right? That's the other thing I wanna know. Do you get me? Do you
Mhm.
get the plight that I'm in, the struggle, what it looks and feels like to be stuck where I'm at? And then what's possible? So you want to kind of dangle those transformations as well.
Yeah.
So I would just say those are really the three key pieces. And the how you get them there is very high level, right? Because people they're not they honestly they just want help. They're
Mhm.
not obsessing over, all the things in your protocol and that sort of thing. In fact, that can actually repel people because they don't, yeah, they don't, that's just not how they think,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So so
I
I
mean,
see that.
I have my like high level protocol on my website for
Yeah.
the patients that want that.
Yeah.
It's not on my homepage. You got to go dive deeper to get that,
Well,
right? But on that homepage, call out the symptoms. They
yes.
want to
I would
know
say
you get
that.
them, that you understand what they're going through.
Yeah.
Just make sure the terminology is in their words. So as people call you and you talk through discovery calls and they write on their forms,
Mhm.
that language, that's their language and that's the language that you need to use to bring them in. Not the diagnosis form that I might be putting into my notes. That's the diagnoses codes that they don't care about those.
No, they
That's too
don't.
high level. So,
Yeah, I love, what you said about, talk about symptoms. I think that is probably the best way to go about it. Really describe what it looks like to feel stuck. What does that feel like for the person? What is that preventing them from doing? How is that holding them back? If you can describe that in your messaging, I think you're going to really, really get further ahead. And the other thing I will just mention is as I am um, moving towards offering SEO services, especially in this age of AI and all the concerns around showing up on search, I will add that it is very helpful for Google in terms of helping you become more visible in search to describe those symptoms, right? So you really want to kind of be thinking about what are people searching for
mhm,
online, right? And that is, I mean, there's a whole bunch more to it, but I do think the messaging is really a great place to start. Right?
yeah, I
So,
would agree.
and you wanna have, you wanna go deep. You wanna go pretty deep. Like, I also this is another thing I see a lot is, website copy that it's not very emotionally driven. It's
Mm,
not very symptom oriented. It's just like, "Okay, here's what I do, and here's all about me." Right?
yeah.
And so Google really doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't really do super well in search, first of all. So you really want to go deep. Like, don't be afraid. I think this is really what I'm trying to say is don't be afraid of having a fair amount of copy on your homepage because Google wants you to go deep, right?
Mhm.
It's a little bit
Yeah.
maybe different than it used to be. Whereas maybe before, we could like we could do a 2 paragraph blog and throw in a couple keywords and life was good, right? We'd show up. But we really do need depth now.
Mhm.
So tying that back into your messaging and what's on your website. So don't be afraid to describe um, what it looks and feels like for your client and or patients to be stuck, right?
Yeah. Very much
So
so.
yeah, and don't forget to describe what's possible if they move forward. Because at the end of the day, and as we craft our message, that's really what they're buying, right? They're really, and you're not guaranteeing, like we know that, but you are in your messaging kind of dangling what is possible for people.
Yeah.
And that gives them hope, you know?
Mhm.
It's a really powerful thing. Okay.
I think
So,
you touched
yeah,
on one
go on.
thing too is the
Uh-huh.
guarantee perspective, right? I can't
Uh-huh. Yes.
guarantee that
Oh.
you're going to turn around, but there are so many words. People want relief, they want freedom, they want what are the other words that you are going to give them, what they're going to experience. And so replacing that for guarantee, I think is so promising and it gives them such hope that you're going to be the right one for them.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we can never guarantee, like, no one can guarantee anything, of course. But I think you can reasonably say and describe in your messaging that, like, for example, this program is designed to help you to achieve this, this, and this. I think that's fair game. So, but you can never ever guarantee. I know I'm freezing like nonstop. I don't know what to do about it, guys. Just bear with me. I think I think I have a little setting issue on the back end of this camera, but to be continued. I will look into that and try to get it together for next time. Okay. So, all right. So just to kind of reiterate, I asked you, if things are feeling a little generic, where's a good place to start? And your recommendation was messaging and maybe even a tagline, right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
play with that before you do a complete overhaul and rebrand.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely.
really good advice. So what's the biggest shift you've seen in your own practice since getting really clear on your niche and your brand? Tell me a
So the
little bit about
biggest
that.
everything is more intentional. This is
Okay.
not just, the patients that come to me, but it has allowed me to kind of, I don't geek out, if you will, in my space where I love, where I'm so passionate about. And it's like guilt free, right? Guilt free indulgence and learning all the things that I love to learn about, talking about all the things that I love to talk about. It really allows me to steer all patients, even if they didn't come for me for a GI issue. I can easily integrate it in, and they expect that as part of the program that we're going to work on that together for sure.
Mhm.
And I think once you get really clear, not only is it the website too, but then what naturally kind of happens is if you're blogging or your social media posts is they then start niching in even more. And
Mhm.
so when that patient finds you, they see all the information kind of stack up and line up and you're building that like no trust factor, right? Because you have to have trust before you get the patient. Um, and so really getting into all of that is nice. But yeah, gave me a lot of intentionality and
Okay.
guilt-free, just being able to hone in on one subject.
So you mentioned that you have a protocol on your website, but you kind of have to dig to find it, right?
A little bit, yeah.
So, tell me about how can I put this? So you've got a protocol, but yet we are still highly personalized and integrative functional care. So how do you mesh those kind of two ways of approaching things?
Yeah. So if you start assessing what do I do with every patient? What are the steps I take every patient through? Maybe you're with him for 6 months, maybe it's 12 months. Like, how do you start doing that? And you
Mhm.
see these patterns. That is your protocol. So, my protocol doesn't have to be, oh, we're going to do, electrolytes every single morning. We're going to do a breakfast built with these 5 foods. Maybe you add supplements, maybe you don't, just kind of depends on the patient. That's not the specificity that I'm talking about. It's more higher
Okay.
level from discover to um, connecting. Maybe
Okay.
it's the rebuild, any of those type of things. That's the protocol I'm talking about. Some
Okay.
patients want that information. They really want to understand high level what their journey might look like. What are you going to do? Because some
Mhm.
people will come to me and say, well, I already know everything about nutrition. So we're not going to talk about that, are we? no, that's not going to be our focus. Yes, we're going to talk about nutrition. That's what I do, right? But we have to look at it from a different lens. And if patient comes to me saying that, that's kind of a flag for me saying, okay, we need to address it differently. And maybe I need to use the back door instead of the front door with this patient. And that's okay. We can still do it. But they like to understand kind of at a high level what that journey looks like. And so having that on your website makes a really big difference for those patients. And then there's others that could care less. They are so stuck and your homepage locked them in because you had their messaging, you hit those emotions, and they're just searching for your discovery call button. Easy.
Yep. Are you cash based or insurance?
I am cash based.
Okay. All right. I love it. All right.
Yeah.
So a little just out of curiosity, you had mentioned that like your can we call it a close rate?
Sure.
Uh, I don't know. I guess that's kind of what I would call it. Like when you get on a discovery call, in other words, most people say yes because
Mhm.
they've looked at your site, the messaging resonated for them. Do you have a pre-qualification process? So, like, do they fill out a form or an application? How does that work
Yep.
in your
They
business?
do. I do have a pre-qualification process. So I
Okay,
use SavvyCal. Everybody has a different tool that they use, but
okay,
I liked that I could put in very custom and personalized questions. And
mhm,
so I really talk about through that, this is what I do. I do functional nutrition testing. These are what your costs are going to be. Are you okay with that? Right. And it's kind of a pre-qualifier. So sure there are people that start down that and get to those questions and they're like, nope, not ready. And so those patients aren't going to come to me. But I get patients there and some of my questions unsure is an option because I don't want to shut everybody out. If there's in some of the sections, I'm like, I can talk to those people and really
mhm,
dive deep and really figure out what's going on kind of behind the scenes. But more than anything, they typically need confidence. Confidence that one, I know what I'm talking about. This isn't just a
mhm.
website that somebody else has built for me or maybe somebody else did the words and it wasn't anything that resonated with me, what I actually
Right.
do, but they need that confidence, and so I can have that conversation with them. Um, I don't do high pressure sales at all, but I pretty much end every call with, "Would you like to get started and schedule your initial consult?"
Okay.
And they
And
say,
then
"Sure."
do you so you have a protocol. Do you, which I love, by the way. In my world, I call that like a signature framework where
Mhm.
essentially we're putting your entire body of work into maybe 4 or 5 pillars.
Yes.
And it's even better if those pillars are sequential. I always say it's akin to like the 5R protocol. You know how we're taking a really complex
Yes.
gut healing process and protocol and making it really, really easy to A, describe and B, implement, right? It gives you a path.
Yeah.
Um, so, so I think that's great. So the question I was going to ask you is, so you have a protocol. Do you move your clients into like a program type of model? What does that look like in your business?
So I ask for a commitment upfront for patients. Being cash pay and also using functional testing, the better response that I got from patients was being monthly payment plans. And honestly, with a
Okay,
monthly payment plan, I roll patients in. I don't have a lot of open spots because they don't often fall off very
okay,
quickly, which is great for me. And I have a lot of retention. So just kind of figuring out what that model looks like for you. It kind of, for me, I played out both and just figured out which conversation model I was more confident in. And they want confidence. So if I'm confident, they're going to be confident. So kind of it took a little bit of play on my end, kind of
okay.
figuring that out.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So, but what I really like is that you are asking for a commitment up front, right?
Mhm.
And, okay, so then, how long is that commitment that you're asking for? Does it depend on the patient or
So it
Is it
does
pretty
depend
much?
on, yeah. So everybody that comes to me is a 3-month commitment minimum.
Okay.
Like we are 3 months together. But if
Okay.
patients ask me, well, what's the average time? Depends
Hmm.
on their condition. It might be a year.
Yep.
But I always, give the analogy of pregnancy. It takes what, 10 months to grow a baby?
Yeah.
And it takes more than 10 months to get your body back to, if it can be, back to pre-pregnancy.
Yeah.
And this is no different. Your gut didn't get here overnight, and I can't fix it overnight. And
Yeah.
so we have to kind of unpeel all those layers of the onion, right? And
Hmm.
each step of the way, make sure we're pivoting and customizing to what your body needs. And when
Hmm.
patients see it that way, it's great. And let them, and some will say, well, am I monthly forever? Because most of my patients I see once a month. And I
Okay.
say, no, as you progress, we'll spread it out. We'll go to every other month and then eventually to a quarterly plan. And they're like, oh, that's great. They can handle, like in their brain, they can
Yeah.
handle quarterly. They understand that. And I think that's important for them to understand kind of the whole journey and where it sits and settles at the end.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you have a discovery call. Almost always the person books, and
Hmm.
the way you're presenting the protocol, or I guess the plan, is by describing basically a minimum container of 3 months, generally speaking, with maybe some exception, of course.
Hmm.
And in terms of how you're billing, because you are cash pay, you are offering like a monthly amount,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So they're billed monthly instead of you asking them to pay like for a 3-month program up front,
Yeah.
essentially. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that I think lands, there's different approaches, different ways you can do it, but that certainly I can see how that would land pretty well for people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, just
Especially because they have to pay for their testing up front, right? It's a block of money. It's a large
it
chunk of
is.
money.
Yeah.
And I found when I rolled the two together, it was hard for
It was
patients.
hard for people. Yeah, I can see
Yeah.
that.
And
Um,
the
go
other thing I will say too is I don't then have to have the conversation of let's renew and let's buy another package. It
right.
rolls on and it rolls on and it rolls on. And
Yeah,
at the end of every session, I will make the guidance and say, let's get you on the schedule for 4 weeks. Or if I think they're ready to go to 6, we do 6. If I can do 8, they can do 8, right? And occasionally I have a patient that comes to me and says, am I ready to go to bi-monthly or quarterly yet? And
yeah.
then it's another conversation. But it's a really nice way to end every single session as well.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, so there's definitely some advantages to doing it that way. And you hit on the big one from a business perspective is you don't have to have this big conversation and a huge decision point again,
Mhm.
right? After
Yeah.
they hit that, the 3-month mark. So that actually really I think is quite helpful for folks to kind of wrap their minds around as well. We just kind of keep going. Um, maybe change the cadence of the meetings, which will ultimately, make the probably reduce the investment as well. Okay, so one more quick question. Do you do any kind of group programming at this point, or is it majority one-on-one?
At this point, I am all one-on-one with
Okay.
patients, and then I also do mentoring for clinicians. Um, and I've had lots of ideas swirling in my head about group.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so personal with what I do and all of the protocols and implementations that I haven't taken the leap of faith yet to do a
Yeah.
group program, but
Yeah.
it's something I have interest in. I just have to wrap my brain
Yeah. Yeah.
around how I would want to do it.
Yeah, I kind of want. Well, as I'm listening to you, it makes me want. So, like, just a thought. Um, do you have patients? I'm assuming you do, but I don't want to assume incorrectly. Do you have patients that are inactive at this point, like who have worked with you, who have gotten better? and
Mhm.
are inactive. So I guess I wonder if that would be an opportunity, like maybe, a membership or some kind of group where you've already worked with them. They already know the language, they already kind of know, but maybe they still need, or maybe they would enjoy and benefit from some sort of community feel and the ability to ask you questions. And also, the thing that I've noticed is that I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people really want some sense of accountability.
Yeah.
Like they probably know what to do at this point for the most part. Okay, so protocols change. I get that. But, maybe they just need a little accountability, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Right. So I don't know, something to think about. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Good idea.
so yeah, I would just say like what I see quite often is that being a huge opportunity for practitioners, right? Because you already got this population, they know, love, and trust you. Um, and so they might, at least a certain percentage of that population would, I'm sure, be very open to reconnecting with you, but just maybe not in the super intense one-on-one type of format, right?
Yeah,
So
I think you're
anyway,
probably right.
so, yeah, anyway, any final words of wisdom? God, this goes by so fast. How's that
It does
possible?
go
I could
by
talk to you I
fast.
could talk all day.
I
We've got
know.
so much to share, and I just wanna say, oh my god, you're doing so many great things, and I really, really give you credit for, taking that leap of faith and just going for it, right? In terms of your branding, I think you've built something really, really special. So,
Thank you, Leslie.
congratulations on that. Any
Thank
final
you.
words of wisdom for our audience?
Uh, Practice what serves you best. I mean,
Okay,
it's really important to be true to yourselves, be passionate about the role we serve, recognize what your demands are as well outside of work. What is life have? What is your plate filled with? And still find a balance that keeps you grounded. But make sure you're following you and listening to you. That's so important. And your patients will love you even more when you niche in and you really find what just serves you and makes you feel so good.
I love that. All right, so guys, before we wrap up, I just want to share really quick. Let me put this up. So Amy can be found at groundedrootnutrition.com. And you said you do mentoring. Would
Yes.
anyone interested in mentoring go directly to your website? Is that how it
Yeah.
works?
You can go directly to my website on the services tab. I've got one specifically for clinicians. And
Okay.
so they can check out that page and then click the link at the bottom to schedule mentoring sessions with me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Easy. All right.
Super easy.
All right. Well, I highly recommend anyone that could use a little mentoring, go ahead and go to Amy's website. Again, that's groundedrootnutrition.com. Go to that services page where you will see the option for mentoring and you can get yourself scheduled right on the spot. Right, Amy?
That's right.
So
Thanks,
let's make it
Leslie.
happen. You bet. All right. Nothing like a good mentor, right? I
That's right.
mean, I just feel like we all need it. So, yeah. So, get yourself taken care of, get some good solid mentoring. Head on over to groundedrootnutrition.com and check Amy out. All right, Amy. So, I'm going to let you get back to your work day. I want to thank you so very much for joining me for this conversation. I could talk all day about this stuff. So, maybe we'll have to do it again sometime if you're willing.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Thanks for having me, Leslie.
You bet. Anytime. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Have a great Memorial Day if you're here in the US. I hope you have lots of fun plans and stay safe if you're driving or traveling. And I will look forward to seeing you next time. All right, guys, bye for now.